Okay, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, continuing our retro pay-per-view series. We're going to do Summerslam 1991. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into this one. I really like this one. One, because it was in our hometown. It was in Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, 20,000 people going nuts. We had some great matches for this one. The card was stacked, and I'll just get right into it. Now, our opening match was a little questionable, six-man tag, but and I'll get to one reason why one of the superstars was in this match and not in a one later on. It was the British Bulldog, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, and the Dragon, not Ricky Steamboat, the Dragon, versus Power and Glory and Warlord. Now, the original plan for this pay-per-view was the British Bulldog was supposed to face Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship. Because of Perfect's injury, they needed somebody in the ring that wasn't a powerhouse, but yet technical to get him through the match because he had the broken tailbone at this point, and he was struggling to wrestle. And they were going to take the title off of him. They were afraid that Bulldog was going to literally kill him in the ring because not that he's reckless in the ring, but his power, the wrong slam and he's out. The match is over. So they changed it and moved to Bret Hart into it, which me personally I think was the better move. So Bulldog was put into this match. And it wasn't a bad match. It was pretty decent for an opening match. Unfortunately, again, Power and Glory, another, this at this point is becoming a theme with them with the losses.
Yeah.
10 minutes, 43 seconds. It was a pretty good match. Bulldog, Tornado, and Dragon get the win. And this is for Dragon, for Steamboat. This was a cup of coffee. This is like I'm in, I'm out. That's it. I'm done. He left almost right after this.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't understand this whole thing, but
they should have never repackaged him. There was no reason for them to repackage him with the dragon outfit and the fire and the.
And if you noticed, Piper made a mistake during the commentating of this, which, by the way, best trio ever on this. Heenan, Piper, and Gorilla, hands down, was awesome. I was laughing half the time. He actually made the mistake and said Steamboat, and I'm like, oh, dude, can't do that. He's the Dragon.
Yeah.
But whatever. I looked at it and said, oh, look, it's Ricky Steamboat, not the Dragon. Again, like you said, why repackage him?
He said too great of a wrestler for...
And especially not to get a push, especially when he came back and he was a former world champion at this point.
in WCW, so remember, Vince doesn't count anything in WCW. Unless you're probably Ric Flair, he doesn't count anything that happened there.
And that's a shame because he had one of the best matches ever against Ric Flair, that hour-long match in '89 where he won the world title.
Well, he goes back and has some great matches anyway. So.
Oh yeah, his feud with Rude when he went back was phenomenal. I loved it. So it was a pretty decent match. Bulldog, is starting. He's got by this point it's a year-long feud with Warlord, especially besides Mr. Perfect. But again, like I said, I explained the reason why they changed that. And Tornado is just a go nowhere at this point. From there, now we go to the Intercontinental Championship match, and man, if Mr. Perfect was actually at 100%, imagine how much better this match would have been. Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, we found out at King of the Ring '93, so
yeah, we got the match we should have gotten 2 years prior. But I mean, he for a guy that had an broken tailbone, he put on one hell of a show. I mean, he really did.
He did the best. He did the best that he could.
Only thing that was bad was John Tolos at ringside.
The
coach. I mean, by this point, Heenan had sold off the Heenan family, and he was a broadcast journalist. Yeah. But I mean, the coach had him and the Beverly Brothers. But when Perfect got hurt, it was like, all right, you're out of here.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Like this was the reason why we brought you in. Forget the Beverly Brothers.
And it was so sudden too. It was like, I think they bring in the coach during the funeral parlor. I think it is.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Heenan introduced them.
Yeah.
He was there. I think he was there faster. He was gone faster than Dragon was. So
yeah.
And this was an 18-minute, 4-second bout. Bret Hart proved that he belongs there, and I loved it when I saw this. That Bret Hart won the Intercontinental Championship. I love how Lord Alfred Hayes is trying to interview his dad.
Yeah,
he asks him a question, looks at the microphone. 2 seconds later, takes it away, and the guy's still talking.
Right, he's still talking. Yeah,
I'm like, rude. Hello, you just asked him a question. How do you want him to answer it? But I mean, this was really good for Bret.
This is what starts Bret's rise as a single wrestler.
Exactly. And again, I think this was a better choice than Bulldog being there as far as the IC, passing the torch to the IC champion. I think Bulldog's time should have been a year later, like they did. But for Brett, this was definitely the start, and great. To me, I like the match.
No,
I like
'93
King of the Ring better, but this one it wasn't shabby.
Not at all.
Now our next match, on paper, is one-sided completely, but in the match they held their own. It was the Bushwhackers versus the Natural Disasters. Now this was the storyline that they were contemplating Andre's return with coming back to the ring, because remember they wanted the Undertaker to fight Andre at WrestleMania. It wasn't going to happen, but it didn't need to happen, because even Andre said, "You don't need me to get him over. He's already there." I don't agree. If he actually went forward with the whole thing, I don't agree putting him getting back in the ring was going to be such a smart idea. Considering 1990, he was voted worst wrestler of 1990.
He couldn't even move, man. He had the crutches.
Yeah, well,
bad. I didn't like seeing Andre like that at all.
They did the storyline where Jimmy Hart was telling everybody, "I'm going to be Andre's next manager," and when he turned him down, Earthquake used the megaphone, which his knees were completely shot at this point anyway. Yeah. So even if he did get back in the ring against Earthquake, which was another possibility, how bad was that going to look? I mean, it would have just it wasn't. No. I like the fact that Andre was at ringside. The fans got to see him one more time before he went to WCW.
Yeah,
which was ridiculous. But the Bushwhackers held their own against the Natural Disasters. Unfortunately, 6 minutes, 27 seconds. Obviously, the Natural Disasters are going to win this match. And then what was cool is after the match, when they were going to go after Andre, the Legion of Doom came out to back him up and to back up the Bushwhackers. So I thought that was cool. It was one final time for Andre to give his send-off to the fans, especially Madison Square Garden. I didn't like the way he looked, because I felt bad, because I loved Andre and his wrestling. It was a shame to see his decline happen so fast. So especially, like you said, him coming out with the crutches. Yeah, it wasn't good. So in any event, now we go to our next match, which was for the, I don't know, would you say the WWE $1 Million Championship, or now the NXT? I don't know. It was Ted DiBiase defending the title against his former bodyguard, Virgil, which I honestly think they should have did this at WrestleMania 7 instead of now. They wasted half a year on this when they could have just took care of that at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because by now they could have even done a tag team match, because they were hinting at the idea when I.R.S. got there to put him with DiBiase. So having a tag match with Piper and Virgil versus the two of them might have been more beneficial at this. But I mean, Piper was just now cleared from having the hip surgery. So I think that would have been better. But I mean, you took two pay-per-views on this match, which they weren't bad. Well, this one wasn't as good as WrestleMania 7. To me, I thought this one was it could have been better. Let me just put it that way. So 13 minutes, 11 seconds, Virgil wins the $1 Million title. According to Bobby Heenan, would either be hanging on the rearview mirror of a 78 Cadillac or be in a pawn shop in 3 days.
Oh, Jesus.
That was just bad.
This was remember Piper was rooting for him hard, and he was like, "Get up, Virgil, get up."
Remember, we talked to your mother earlier and your father today.
That was cool. I like all of that. And I remember rooting for Virgil hard. I think most of us were. We were rooting for him. And he got a huge pop when he won the match. Everyone was rooting for him. So it was a nice story for Virgil. It's the only thing he ever did in his career worth anything.
That's a shame, because I really thought, they could have did something with him. They always gave him the matches like Nails or Yokozuna, or I got to get somebody else over. Yeah, squash. And it's a shame. Now, the only time I didn't agree was when Bret Hart gave him a WWE title shot on Superstars. I thought that was a little ridiculous. But I mean, I just thought they could have did something more with him, because he had the look. He knew how to wrestle.
He was in great shape. Yeah.
And I cheered my butt off on this match, and I was happy that he won.
Yeah, I was happy that he won.
He didn't. It didn't last long, because you go to the next pay-per-view, he didn't have the belt anymore.
That's it.
But it's like you said, it's the only title he ever won, and so congrats to Virgil on this one. Our next match, and I really got a kick out of this gimmick, and it'd be nice if they did it again. The Jailhouse match.
Yeah. Big
Boss Man versus the Mountie. I think I enjoyed the the segments leading to the jail more than the match itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when they're like, "You're not taking my picture." So I heard Boss Man kicks your butt. What? And then he goes, "You want the finger? Here's the finger." Oh, and I'll get to the other part later on with the cellmates. But this match itself was pretty decent. This was Jacques Rougeau starting to be a singles wrestler. I didn't mind the gimmick. I kind of liked it. But when they put the Intercontinental title on him, even though Brett was hurt, or not hurt but sick that night, I was like, that's a little far fetched. I didn't see it. But I mean, the gimmick kind of worked for him. And then it escalated into the Quebecers, but
yeah, it was
for Bossman versus Mountie, it was pretty decent.
Bossman was full-fledged babyface. He was pretty over at that point.
Oh yeah,
he had lost weight. He was in great shape. And definitely. I think the Mountie kicks out of Bossman's finisher too in this.
Yeah,
one.
He didn't. Yeah, he used
sidewalk
it
slam,
and he kicked
right?
out, and then he did like an Alabama slam that finished the match. Yeah, I noticed that his sidewalk slam didn't work here.
Yeah. Which
unless they botched it.
Back then, it was very, very rare for anybody to kick out of finishers. If you weren't Hogan or Warrior, you weren't kicking out of a finisher. So that was like, it was something cool. It was like something different. And I remember
where now you got to do it like 5 times.
I forgot what Piper says. He says, I think that's how bad these guys wanted or something. He said something to that effect. Like he was acknowledging that he had kicked out of the finisher.
Which I think was a mistake. I think he accidentally did it. And they had to do something else, but there's no telling.
Yeah.
Again, Jacques Rougeau is another guy that you can't believe, and I mean, we've heard it, the shit that comes out of his mouth. So, part of my French. In any event, it was a 9-minute, 38-second match. Like I said, pretty decent. Putting him in the paddy wagon, and what's funny? I don't know if you caught this, but when they put him in there, they had that outside latch that they put on it, and it took off. You notice when they got to the police station, they just opened the door like it was nothing. It wasn't even latched.
Yeah.
So I know it's the little things you notice when you watched it a bunch of times. You start catching stuff you didn't see before, and I happen to see that. I know it doesn't mean anything.
He also didn't really go to jail.
Well, no kidding. What do you want to bet that it went around the block back and they had this set up in the garden? What do you want to bet?
More than likely, yeah.
I know he wasn't in jail. Like, come on, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Especially just those two guys in the cell when he's screaming and he's like, "You want to fight me, buddy? Here's my buddy." And I was like, "Oh Lord, this is."
That was great. It was great stuff. That was funny.
It was, and especially for that time where gimmick matches like that were unheard of in WWE. So it was good to see them branch out a little bit.
It worked. I liked it. I remember liking it as a kid.
So now from there we go to the WWE Tag Team title match. It was a no disqualification street fight, which the Nasty Boys asked for. And this match, to me, when they signed it, I'm like, oh, they're losing it. I'm like, they were literally the placeholders for Legion of Doom between them and Hart Foundation. And again, 7 minutes, 48-second match. Legion of Doom beat the crap out of them, gets the tag titles off them. I thought they squashed them more than they did Power and Glory, which was a shame because, I mean, the Nasty Boys, they're not the Hart Foundation, they're not Demolition, they're not the Legion of Doom, but they are a legitimate tag team. Yeah. They are good. Especially in WCW when they fought the Harlem Heat, they drew a crowd. So for them to squash them like this for the tag belts, you really start to wonder when we talked about WrestleMania 7, should the Legion of Doom fought Demolition or Hart Foundation at there instead of Power and Glory? Should we have just forget it and just give them the belts there instead of just waiting?
This is their first title run, right? They made them wait a year to get the titles, to get the
literally
tag titles.
Because their debut was the Summerslam prior.
Yeah, they got a huge pop too when they came out.
Yes, they did.
Huge.
It's just a shame their first run didn't last long, and we covered that in the Legion of Doom episode on why it happened. But the Legion of Doom become the tag team champions. Now, so far, every title has changed hands. Unfortunately, that's the last title match because the WWE title was not defended on this evening. Which, to be quite honest, a Hogan Warrior title match that night instead of what we got would have been pretty impressive. So, in any event, we go to another squash match. That this match to me went 6 minutes longer than it's supposed to. It was a 7 minute, 7-second match. It was Greg the Hammer Valentine versus I.R.S. Now, I don't know about you, but ever since they turned him fan favorite, I think he was Kurt Hawkins. I don't think he ever won a match. He really didn't.
No.
He got squashed at WrestleMania by Earthquake, and then loses to I.R.S., who's not an up and comer. He's a veteran. Everybody knows who he is. Mike Rotundo, Wyndham, whatever you want to call him. People knew who he was.
I mean, the character was new though.
The character was new, and it had to make a name for himself. I mean, he was fresh off his WCW release after leaving the York Foundation garbage that they had him in, but whatever. I mean, this match wasn't all that good. I.R.S. did his finisher. This was another move where he did his finisher, and Greg Valentine kicked out because he did what he calls it was called the W4. It was kind of like he would. Yeah, I know, right? It was an aerial clothesline from the rope, but his body would kind of go off to the side because they did it in the video game. He did it quite a few times back then. He did the move here, and Valentine kicked out. But I mean, he rolled him up. What was it? Small package or whatever, hook the tights or whatever the case was. I.R.S. gets the win. By this point, I think Valentine was just about out, which I think he stayed a year longer than warranted. And when they turned him fan favorite, I was like, all right, now he's really downhill.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good match for I.R.S. to prove himself, and a bad match for Valentine, the veteran. So we're on to the main event now. The match, first half of the double main event. The match made in hell. Special guest referee Sid Justice. What? The fact that they call it that?
They call it the match made in hell. The match made in heaven, the match made in hell.
Well, that's Vince McMahon for you. What do you want? This was a 2-on-3 handicap match. It was the Ultimate Warrior and WWE Champion Hulk Hogan versus the Triangle of Terror, Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa, and General Adnan. Adnan.
Adnan,
And if everybody, it's Iron Sheik, everybody. It wasn't
the Iron Sheik. And this guy, and I think Piper screws up when, I think it was the Brother Love show, and he's like, he calls him Iron Sheik. He's like, oh, that's the Sheik. And then they kind of like, forget that. Yeah, forget that he even said that. I don't know why they changed his name. I don't know what the point.
I don't know either. It didn't make any sense. We all knew who he was.
I think I said this in another video. I guess it's because I think Iran and Iraq, they had beef at that time.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, we can't have this guy from Iran, so let's just repackage him. And apparently Vince McMahon, he had a soft spot for Iron Sheik, so he just wanted to give him a payday. So he wanted to give him a payday. That was nice of him, but
he stuck around. It was about 8 months that he was there because he was there through 1992, but mainly a house show guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he wrestled at SummerSlam. He was there at Survivor Series. He was at the Royal Rumble, and then he did some house shows, and out he went after that. But I mean, that guy wasn't no spring chicken at this point either.
But
he was a veteran.
Yeah, seeing Warrior and Hogan on the same team as a kid was incredible though.
Yes, it was.
That's like a kid's dream, is to see those two guys team up,
And this was the second time you get to see that because it was Survivor Series 90 in the grand finale, and then this. But this was more. I think this was better than that, and unfortunately, this is the night where Warrior. We've discussed this on his video with he wasn't going to be there if he didn't get paid. Now, I've said this before. I'll rehash it real quick. I don't disagree with wanting to get paid. I do agree that he was on the same level, if not higher, than Hogan at this point. It was just the way that he went about it that could have been a little better. But I totally agree with. I want to get paid if I'm the guy and my merchandise is drawn. Saying that you're going to hold the show on hostage. That's the only thing that I say. Nah, dude, you're gone too far. And when I watched this recently and I saw him go to the back, chasing them to the back, I'm like, okay, this is where it happens. Where supposedly Jake Roberts is waiting back there, and Vince McMahon shakes Warrior's hand and says, "Good, nice job, you're fired." Yeah. Looks at Jake and says, "Now, don't you have the worst luck?" I don't agree. I don't buy Jake's story. Yeah, he was feuding with the Warrior. Was it going to lead to a main event push? No. And if this was going to be his main event push, then why was he already involved in a storyline with Randy Savage? Because a week or two prior on Primetime Wrestling, I don't know if you remember this, when Savage went for the bachelor party, he snubbed Jake Roberts and didn't allow him to come. So they started a storyline already right there. So if you're going to do this main event push, why are you already have him focused on somebody else? Unless your plan was to get rid of Warrior all along. or knew what you were going to do when SummerSlam came around. I don't know.
I don't know
It's a
because
bunch
they
of
had
what
already
ifs right now.
because they had already started that whole feud with Warrior and Jake the Snake. When Warrior was Jake was
Yeah,
training
with the
him
whole
to fight,
Undertaker.
and then he turned on him. So maybe at some point they were going in that direction, even if it wasn't for the title. They were going into a Jake versus Warrior program, and then there was a pivot. I don't know. Who knows? Only they know what was going on that year. But
Do I believe Jake was literally standing there with Vince McMahon?
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But
I don't
this
know.
match, another problem with this match was that the Gulf War is already over.
Yeah.
And that Warrior versus not the Warrior, but Hogan Slaughter feud, it didn't really work. And so they kept going with it, and then they inserted Warrior into there, which I don't mind.
Warrior mainly because he lost the title to Slaughter, so it's like unfinished business. And two big Americans going against them.
No, I get it. It's just
do I think the feud should have ended at WrestleMania? Yes. Maybe a month or two after on the house show.
I mean, I didn't mind. I mean, it's just in retrospect. As a kid, I didn't mind seeing this. It was great seeing.
No, it was great seeing Hogan and Warrior together.
And then you had Sid. The whole angle with Sid is Sid gonna not betray, but they wanted to make it seem like Sid was on Sergeant Slaughter's side because they pulled. They pulled him because they pulled him aside in the back, and then Sid was saying, they spoke to me, whatever. I didn't.
Yeah.
So there was that question of whether or not. And Sid was a big dude, man. Sid. I don't know if he may have been on some performance enhancing stuff because that guy.
You think he was because when the FBI was coming down, he was the first to go. Yeah.
You see how big his traps were?
They were up to his forehead.
It was crazy. It's crazy.
Now, did you catch the arrogance from Hulk Hogan when he got in the ring when he goes, "Hey, big man," and throws him the belt? When I saw that again, I was like, Sid should have decked him with it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the start of WrestleMania right there.
But then he turns out he's a good guy, and he's
and he got a bigger pop than Hogan did.
He got a huge pop.
Hogan got the worst ovation out of the three. It was Sid's and Warriors can rival who was bigger, probably Warriors a little bit, but Sid got a big pop, and Hogan didn't. So
then he's there smiling with Hogan at the end.
I love how he calls him back out. Now obviously at this point McMahon and Warrior are having their altercation behind this. So if you notice, that's why the when the curtain just literally just shows his face, and then they cut out and they come back to where he's already out of the curtain, so they don't want to show you none of that. And he goes out there to pose with him, and Hogan's holding him back and telling him, "Oh, this is what you do." I'm like, dude, powerbomb his ass. Come on, you're bigger than him at this point. Just another guy that Hogan tries to take under his wing that turns on him. Does anybody see a pattern here? Was Beefcake too blind not to do it? Well, he waited to WCW to do it, but
so they won. So Hogan, I guess technically Hogan and Warrior won, even though Warrior chased
the two of them to the back with the
chair,
Mustafa, with the chair,
and then Hogan.
And then he has his problem, and then the powder came into effect, and Hogan pins Slaughter once again. And the feud didn't even end here. The feud did not end until September when they had a boot camp match prior to Flair coming, because then Flair took over the house matches with Hogan. So this even still continued up until Slaughter said, "I'm done with the gimmick," and turned back to fan favorite, which by this point nobody really cared. So I mean, but the match was good.
It was fine. It went off fine. I thought
good seeing just for the fact of seeing Hogan and Warrior together. I mean, the Triangle of Terror thing.
They were supposedly, according to Hogan, at some point they were gonna break Warrior's leg outside the ring or something.
Yeah, because of the whole thing. I remember the
contract,
and he denied it.
And Vince said, "No, I don't need a lawsuit on my hands." But there's a spot where Warrior's outside the ring that's when Iron Sheik was gonna break his leg, and then Hogan, and then like you said, then Hogan denies it in the deposition, but then they show the video of him saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna break his leg," and
then they will. Then we're like, "So what do you have to say?" Just stay silent. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna say, dude? You were caught.
Yeah, so
you're obviously now you're a liar. Your word means nothing. Yeah. And he's gonna do this because Warrior went about what he did. Again, I agree that he was owed because he was the biggest draw in 1991, in my opinion. Just the way he went about it was not businesslike. Yeah. So that's my only issue with it. It was, unfortunately. And he wasn't fired. He was suspended indefinitely. And at least he was willing to do business with him when he needed him because Vince knew everybody was leaving.
Yeah. So
because if you look at 1992, I looked at it the other day. At that 30-man Royal Rumble in 1992, 6 of those guys were there a year from then, and 5 of them were on their way out 3 months after that. So look at the total 360 that they went through. And this is, I haven't seen one like that since this year, since we're having a total 360 roster move. But it was a lot back then with the whole thing. But again, going back to this match, it was a good match.
Yeah, it was,
and the fans got what they paid for. Now, and I laughed at this because I made a joke the other night when I watched it. The match made in heaven, when they went back and showed that he's going to propose and he's doing the whole Titanic thing with saying her name 100 times. When he pulled the ring out, I looked at my son and I was like, I did the savage look and I was like, do you think your girlfriend would like this ring? Like, if he blew up the whole spot, we were acting stupid. What do you want? But I like that. I love the fact that he proposes to a woman he's already been married to for 7 years.
Yeah, but we didn't know that though.
No, we didn't. We thought she was his valet, his manager.
Yeah, and I think they were actually separated at this point. I don't even think
No. Beginning of 92, right before WrestleMania 8, it happened. And I love the whole WrestleMania 7 when she came back out. When she came out and he turns fan favorite again. I loved the whole thing. I wasn't crying, but I loved the whole thing that they did with them. And then the proposal on Superstars, and Piper's like, well, what if she says no? Like, dude, shut up. But, she gives the whole, oh, yeah. The wedding was nice.
Oh, yeah.
This was the only wedding in WWE that didn't end with somebody coming out and getting hit with a chair.
Right, yeah.
Or a video saying, oh, by the way, I already married this girl and she was drugged.
It's actually a happy ending, yeah.
Or you weren't taken out in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was good. Now, I could have sworn. Now, I remember on the Coliseum video SummerSlam, they had put the reception where they were going through the gifts. They didn't do it on this one. So that's why, if you notice, I shared the video the other night of the whole reception with Jake. I love the fact that they're going through the gifts, and they show this on the video, but not on the Coliseum video. When he's going through, he goes, "Ooh, a blender," and she's like, "Randy," because he's going through the gifts like crazy. He's opening up another one. She opens up the box, and bam, there it is, Lucifer himself.
Yep. Here
comes the snake, and this is what I thought was funny, because you see Jake and the Undertaker come out, and they're beating down Savage, and then all of a sudden, Sid Justice just shows up out of nowhere. And he's like, get back, get. And I'm like, dude, really? I'm like, you could have waited a little longer. You practically acted like you were just hanging around. Now I know. You could. And by the way, half of those people were all WWE officials because I did see Shane McMahon. And by the way, J.J. Dillon was there. They tried not to get the camera, but I caught it. But I mean, the if I can get it out, the wedding was nice. The reception was typical WWE. They waited until after the wedding to destroy it with somebody.
Right.
And this is where, and this is where Jake and started his storyline with Savage. And I liked this storyline. I really did.
No, it was really good. Really good.
They did a tremendous job. I believe that at the Royal Rumble they should have had another match, or even at WrestleMania 8 we talked about it, instead of ending it on a house show. Bringing the Undertaker into it. I think it benefited Jake more than it benefited The Undertaker because he really didn't need the help. And, this led into also Sid Justice and Jake Roberts, because you remember another video I shared, the El Diablo incident, where they thought that Undertaker and Sid were going to wrestle each other, and the crowd went nuts. Of course, we got that 6 years later, and it was horrible. But anyway, so this is how SummerSlam ended, and 1991 was definitely a great one. I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good SummerSlam.
There was no Tito throw together match, so we're good.
No, yeah, so it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So that's SummerSlam on 91. We're doing 92 next, right?
Yes, we're doing all the way to 97. So if anybody's wondering, is this the last one? Nope, 97 will be the last one before we go somewhere else.
All right, so you guys let us know what you think about SummerSlam 91. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.